What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 59. My name is Victor Vasquez. Appreciate you guys coming back and listening to another episode. On this week's podcast, we're going to be talking about the new film, Bob Marley, One Love, directed by Reynaldo Marcus Green. This film basically takes place in regards to a period in time for Bob Marley in which he, again, had to face his country being divided, and he was just trying to, unite everybody in Jamaica with his music and with the message that he was trying to portray. Just for a little bit of context, before we kind of talk a little bit about the details of the film, I actually have only listened to a couple of Bob Marley songs. I'm not really invested in him as a musician before the film. So again, everything was very much new to me. I really appreciate these types of biopics when they make them for musicians or for different types of artists, just because, again, it kind of gives me and sheds more light on what they kind of went through in their life and what they were able to kind of achieve or overcome depending on any challenges that they may have faced. Now, I completely understand that these movies and these biopics are not 100% factual. I completely get that. There's things that are maybe dramatized and, changed in ways to just make the story a lot more engaging. But what actually made me a little bit more confident about watching this movie is that some of Bob Marley's family was actually involved in the production and the creation of this movie. So whenever I see family members of the individual that they're trying to portray in the film, when they're involved, it at least gives me that confidence, like, okay, yeah, the family at least provided their insight and provided like, yeah, this is what we, would expect to see, or no, this doesn't seem right. So at least that gave me a little bit more confidence when watching this movie. All right, well, let's go ahead and dive in. I ended up checking out Bob Marley, One Love on opening night, and overall, I had a really good time watching the movie. Once again, I'm not a big Bob Marley fan. I listened to a couple of, specific songs that he's come out, some of his most famous ones, but I really enjoyed the movie. I really enjoyed how they portrayed, what he went through during a specific period in his life. There's different types of, political turmoil that's going on in Jamaica. These two political parties are basically dividing the country, and Bob Marley, what he wants to do is basically just end this tribalism, this feeling of wanting to have the country choose sides. And instead, he wants to have a concert in order to bring everybody in Jamaica together, in order to kind of show like, hey, yes, there are political parties going on, there's an election going on, but it does not mean that we have to hate each other, right? There shouldn't be almost like a civil war taking place just because of these specific political ideas that are going through the country. And that's basically how the entire story revolves around, is this one kind of concert and this one moment in Bob Marley's life where he's just trying to, provide a good message to Jamaica. At the beginning of the film, it doesn't work, but eventually it all comes full circle as he's able to explore, he's able to reflect, and he's able to eventually come back to Jamaica with a new kind of sound or music and album, as well as a new message in regards to helping the country basically heal and get through its political election that's going through as well. Let's jump into some of the pros that I had about the movie, and then we'll kind of dive into some of the cons that I had. I want to say that the first pro that I really enjoyed about this movie is the time or the setting really that this film took place. There's a lot of times in different types of, musical biopics where, give you an example, Bohemian Rhapsody, they kind of go from like beginning to end of the individual that they're trying to portray. So, for Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody, they went from before he started becoming famous and before he, actually made it to Queen, and then all the way up to the end when he played his kind of final concert and then he ended up passing away. Typically, they always try to go from beginning to end of an entire career and try to sum it up maybe in 2 hours. What I love most about this film, though, is that it just drops you into a moment of Bob Marley's life where he's already well known. He's already famous to the country of Jamaica, and he's already trying to set up a concert to basically unite the entire country. And the entire film basically is, revolving around almost like a 2 to 3 or 4 year span. So it's very short. It's a very tight window, but I actually liked it. Again, it doesn't need to explain itself in regards to, well, here's who Bob Marley is, or here's what he does, like that, or here's how he found the love of music. No, I think we already kind of get that. Again, he's a musician, and what he's trying to do for his country, I think, is really what is more important and what's more priority for him. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And again, like I mentioned, it shows you like how he's able to kind of change throughout the movie. Again, at the beginning, he's just trying to do his best to provide a good, clear message to his country, saying like, hey, we don't have to choose sides. Let's have this concert. That way we can all be, friends, and we can all just make logical choices. Instead, the country is just in such a mess that one of his own countrymen actually even tries to shoot and kill him because of, again, having this concert and wanting to unite the country instead of, again, choosing sides. So, again, it just kind of puts you in that kind of a mindset of like, okay, well, how's this all going to really resolve? And again, flip the script now all the way to the end where he leaves Jamaica. He wants to protect his family. But as he leaves, he again explores different types of music, explores different ways of living and going through different types of countries and touring in Europe. That again, he eventually finds out that, you know what, maybe I have to find a different message, right? Maybe I have to find a different way and show that, you know what, am I upset that I got shot? Obviously, right? But I can't show vengeance. I can't show that type of feeling of revenge. That's not going to help my country heal. I need to show that I can get past that. And once I get past that, if I can show that, hey, even though my own country was trying to get rid of me, I still come back here and I still feel like my message is to provide this concert for everybody to then again understand that, hey, even if you are hated on or even if you are at any point trying to get shot at, you have to be the better person. You have to take the high road and be like, you know what? I forgive you, right? For the mistakes that you make. And so again, it just shows the difference of like how that all kind of plays out. But again, I really appreciated that it didn't just span from the beginning of his life all the way to the end. Now, they would show flashbacks in regards to, you know, how he was when he was younger or how he kind of met his actual band and how they all kind of, again, try to get their first deal on an actual record label or radio. But again, it was just little details. I just really appreciated that it just focused on this one aspect of his life. Him failing to unite the country, and then a couple years later, coming back as an even bigger message, and then eventually uniting the country overall with the two political parties that were facing each other. So really good stuff. I really, again, appreciated that it was just a small little window into his life and not a complete, replay of his entire story. Another pro that I had is actually the relationship between Bob Marley and his wife, Rita. So Bob Marley is played by Kingsley Ben-adir. Lashana Lynch plays Rita, the wife of Bob Marley. Their relationship throughout the film is really, really engaging. I appreciated any time they were both on screen together, and especially when they were talking to each other on different scenes. There was a lot of emotional moments that they had, and it just elevated the story for me as well. Because again, if the story could be really interesting and kind of have these really good story beats that you're going through, but if the characters don't have that kind of chemistry, or if they don't have this type of connection where they're getting really invested into it, then it might not hit as well. But for me, I really enjoyed both Kingsley Ben-adir and Lashana Lynch's portrayals of Bob and Rita. And again, as they were acting out with each other, it just made you immediately focus on, okay, forget whatever is happening in the story. Let's just figure out what's going to happen between these two. Because although, yes, they were married, they had children, it was still very kind of contested type of a relationship. They both made music together. It seemed like Bob needed Rita to be around him in order to feel like he's, okay, I need a actual North Star. And that's what Rita represented in the story. Whenever he was by himself, he just kind of would fumble around and kind of figure out and always kind of be in a specific type of a mood of like, well, maybe it sounds like this, or maybe my music should sound like this. But as soon as Rita comes and starts helping him and being around him, he's able to find that. He's able to find that kind of rhythm. He's able to find that type of music and sound that he's looking for. And again, it's all because, again, their relationship and what they've been through together. They also have a lot of very conflicting types of conversations as well, which are some of those kind of really good emotional moments of the story. So again, that was one of my second pros, just the ability to kind of show off how great those performances was. And again, props to Kingsley Ben-adir and Lashana Lynch for their portrayals, because again, that got me really invested with these two characters and their relationship. All right, last pro for me is the music that they used throughout the movie. Obviously, as you would expect, you would hope that they would highlight a lot of Bob Marley's music, and they did. Anytime it would kind of shift or transition to a different setting or a different scene, you would hear music of Bob Marley playing around in different areas. But I also really enjoyed when they would make music within the actual film. So whenever kind of Bob was going through with his bandmates and he was trying to find that sound, them going step by step and finding, okay, this is maybe what we should use, or maybe we should use this. Just those types of musical aspects and musical creations are really interesting to me, just because, again, I'm not a musician. And so that kind of aspect of it and that world is always so intriguing. I'm like, okay, so how do you come up with this sound, or what makes it perfect for you as the artist, right? So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But overall, the soundtrack was also really cool of just using Bob Marley's music, and they just chose perfect moments to play it. And then there's even dialogue where Bob Marley kind of is talking to his kids, and he's even calling out specific titles of songs that he eventually will write in the future. So really good stuff. I really enjoyed those aspects of it. All right, now I'm going to move over to a couple cons. Again, I did enjoy the movie, but there was, a couple things that I just felt like it didn't make it like a perfect movie. Again, just small nitpicks. I don't think it really takes away anything from me for the story, but I really wish they could have explored a little bit more about, his relationship with his father. They kind of hinted again at different types of flashbacks, and they showed that his father didn't care about him. He was a white man. And so I wanted to see a little bit more about that and just kind of explore how that may have affected him growing up, and shown him kind of deciding why his foundation or his methodology is the way that it is. And in the film, there's another little nitpick that I had, which was I wish they explored a little bit more of Don Taylor's kind of story about, getting money on the side behind Bob Marley's back. Don Taylor, played by Anthony Welsh, he is basically the musical manager for Bob Marley and his band. And he helped Bob, get different types of tour dates in Europe, and he eventually helps him get a tour date in Africa. But what he doesn't realize, Bob Marley does, is that he doesn't realize that Don is basically getting money behind his back. He's making these very slimy deals. So they kind of hint at that. They show that a little bit, but it's only for a few minutes. I really wish they could have made that or invested a little bit more time in showing that, just to make Don the antagonist of this film in a way. Now, granted, I completely understand that if they didn't do that because, again, maybe that's not factual, maybe that's not actually what happened, then totally understand. But I really wish they could have explored that a little bit more as well. Last con I think I have is just a small little nitpick. Again, they did a really great job. Kingsley Ben-adir, Lashana Lynch, everybody that's involved in the film with their Jamaican accents. It was a little tough to kind of keep up with at the beginning of the film, but eventually you just get used to it and you kind of roll with it as well. But I did struggle a little bit in regards to kind of keeping up with what they were trying to say and what they were kind of having in these types of conversations, because they would talk really fast as well. So just a small little nitpick. Again, I eventually kind of got the rhythm of how they were kind of speaking the dialect. Again, small little thing that did not take me out of the movie at all, but just wanted to call that out as well. All right, well, overall, again, those are my pros and cons. I really enjoyed Bob Marley, One Love. Like I mentioned before, it has really great performances. It has a great narrative in regards to just showing you a point in time in Bob Marley's life and how he was able to kind of overcome his country being divided. Really good stuff. Again, I really enjoyed it. And it was very quick, an hour and 47 minutes. Did not overstay its welcome. It got straight to the point, and it showed you different types of either highlights of Bob Marley's career and how he was able to kind of, again, go through this different types of, again, conflict that he was facing, not only with his country, but also with his wife, Rita, as well. So really good stuff. I definitely would recommend it. If you're really into Bob Marley's music, or if you're into music in general, I definitely would recommend checking out Bob Marley, One Love. Really good movie. Definitely check it out in theaters as well. All right, everybody. Now is a perfect time to move on to the next segment, in which we will be talking about my favorite performance. I've talked about them a little bit in my pros, but I gotta give it up to Kingsley Ben-adir and Lashana Lynch for playing Bob Marley and Rita Marley, respectively. Both of them their performances, again, were so good. They were so engaging. And what makes it like a performance, at least for me, very engaging, is when I can forget who that actor is, knowing that, again, I know that it's Kingsley Ben-adir, I know it's Lashana Lynch, but when I can forget that they're just actors and they're actually trying to play their characters, that's when I really enjoy a performance in a movie. I can think of a recent example like Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer. I completely forgot that he was Cillian Murphy, in coming in other projects like Peaky Blinders. No, it was not that character. It was Robert Oppenheimer. And so he completely transformed himself, and it just kind of went into that character. I feel like Kingsley Ben-adir and Lashana Lynch did the same. They, especially with how they were kind of portraying their relationship together, it was really good. But I'm going to go ahead and choose one of those performances, and for me, it's got to be Kingsley Ben-adir playing Bob Marley. I don't know, just from the look of it, he nails the look. He has the exact same kind of style, the way that he smiles, he tried to do as well. The way that he was again able to kind of portray that very free-flowing type of energy that Bob Marley had. I really dug that. But he also showed a lot of that side of, like, again, the conflict of when he would have with his wife, Rita Marley, the way that he would have his relationship with his bandmates, the way that he was kind of, again, trying to find the right message to tell to his country as he would try to perform at that concert. There's different areas that he was able to kind of highlight, but I think Kingsley Ben-adir just really nailed it. But he also, even the sound of him, right? He didn't sound like Kingsley Ben-adir. He sounded like Bob Marley. And they even showed clips at the end of the movie, actual live footage of Bob Marley. And again, it just sounded very much like him. So good job to Kingsley Ben-adir. Again, he nailed it in this role, at least for me. I'm no expert in Bob Marley. To me, I thought he pretty much nailed it. And he was able to kind of show how Bob Marley had to face very troubling times when his own country was against him, trying to kill him, and how they didn't even faze him, right? It obviously affected him and it hurt him in a bit, but he knew that he had to get through it in order to, again, show them, like, hey, even if that happened, I still love my country and I still want everybody to be united. So really good stuff, and a great job to Kingsley Ben-adir, and a shout out to Lashana Lynch as well. She's always great in any movie she comes out in. All right, everybody, moving on to my next segment, which is talking about my favorite scene or moment of the film. This one, again, is pretty tough, but I think I'm going to choose the moment where Bob Marley is in London. They ended up moving away after he ended up getting shot by an individual for his concert. And while he's away in London, he's trying to find ways to make music. He's trying to find a new sound. And in this kind of process, you start seeing him kind of like come up with like a specific song for one of his albums for Exodus. And it was so cool like that. It starts off with him just kind of talking with Rita, trying to think of a specific type of a sound. And then one of his bandmates is playing a song on a record player. And it's like a specific type of a sound. But Bob Marley likes it so much that he's like, okay, let's add to it, right? Let's add this specific type of a rhythm. Let's add this beat right here. Let's add some drums. He starts coming up with different types of lyrics, calls out the Exodus name, and he just kind of goes and goes. And every one of his bandmates starts adding a little bit more to the song that they're trying to create on the spot. And it was so cool. I really, again, I enjoy the creation of that type of an art like music, because again, in my mind, that just seems impossible. Like, how can you come up with like such a unique sound that doesn't sound like anything else that you've heard? How do you come up with lyrics on the spot, like as you're kind of thinking through the different types of ideas that are running through your head? And so I really enjoyed, again, them creating that specific song on the spot, and every bandmate adding their own little element, and then even Rita coming in and helping out with some of the vocals as well. So that was like one of my favorite scenes. Again, just the creation of the specific song. Again, a song that I hadn't heard of before, again, because I just haven't invested a lot in Bob Marley's music. But again, this definitely made me want to listen more and more after I watched the movie. All right, everybody. Now that we've gotten through all the segments, it is time to decide whether this film is a timeless movie. As of this moment, Bob Marley One Love is not a timeless movie for me. Again, I really enjoyed highlighting that specific time in Bob Marley's life about how he was able to kind of get through adversity in regards to uniting his country, and how he was able to kind of also develop a message through his music and develop a unique sound as well. And so although I really enjoyed the performances and I really enjoyed what they kind of portrayed for Bob Marley, I feel like I needed something else to kind of make it more rewatchable, right? Like, so I can definitely see myself maybe rewatching it in the future if I ever want to kind of see a specific aspect of it, or see the performances of Lashana Lynch or Kingsley Ben-adir. But again, for me, it was a great experience watching it one time, but I don't really see myself picking it up and watching it again in the future. I feel like that's always a very common thread between music biopics. You watch them once and in the moment, you're like, yes, I love this. I love the music. I love kind of the performance that's going on. But after you watched it once, you feel like, you've seen enough, right? You've seen their story. You've seen it from beginning to end. What new details can I pick up the next time I watch it? So again, just my personal opinion. Again, I feel like it was still a good watch, something I would still recommend you go out and watch in theaters. But for me, again, I don't think it has that kind of substance to kind of keep you coming back over and over and over again. Just because, again, it's a very simple, straightforward story, but nothing there for me personally to kind of go in and say, oh, okay, yeah, I need to rewatch this, or I need to, oh man, I can't wait to listen to this song. Not to that extent, but again, maybe for folks that are bigger Bob Marley fans than I am, maybe you can definitely pick that up and watch it over and over again. But that leads me into a good transition. If you have seen Bob Marley, One Love, what did you think? Did you enjoy the movie? Is it a timeless film for you where you can watch it every single time that you think about, hey, if I think like listen to a Bob Marley song, you know what? I feel like watching this movie. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments, and I'd love to interact with you guys to get a feel for if you liked the movie, if you didn't like the movie, or what were your favorite moments overall as well. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for coming back and listening to another episode. My name is Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 59 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Make sure to check out next week's episode as we cover a new movie and we decide after one watch, is it timeless? All right, everybody, thanks so much and have a great weekend.